Coming up on The Returned.
I was judgmental, I was fearful, I was all of those things.
Why do you think?
All truth on planet Earth is relative. Absolute truth only exists in the higher realms.
I am curious what your thoughts are.
Source is unity. It is oneness. It is all-knowing, all-being, all-loving.
You know, if every person on Earth suddenly understood about consciousness, what do you think it would change? Hi, and welcome to The Returned. The truth always follows you back. Hi, and welcome to The Returned, a place where we share near-death stories, out-of-body experiences, spiritual awakenings, signs from spirit, and the journeys of healers and lightworkers from around the world. Today, we sit with Jeffery Eisen. Eisen?
Eisen, yes, close enough.
Eisen. Today, we sit with Jeffery Eisen, a spiritual teacher, channeler, and a former CEO whose life took an extraordinary turn after a profound awakening in his early 50s. Jeffery walked away from a life built on profit and certainty and stepped onto a path of healing, consciousness, and service. Jeffery, welcome to The Returned.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me as well. Thank you. Before we get to the heart of the conversation, I like to ground the audience in who you were before everything changed. So could you take us back a bit? Tell us about yourself and what life looked like for you. And did religion or spirituality play a role in your life or your upbringing?
Okay, great question. Born and raised in a small town. I was the middle child of three, and I didn't realize as I was growing up that I really didn't fit the mold that I was being raised in. But I now see that it was all part of the plan. It was part of the plan. I do recall trying to get my father's attention, his recognition, his love, his for him to pay attention to me. And the thing that he seemed to care about most was the family business. And so unconsciously, I tried to pay attention to the family business. I never really felt I fit in socially. I was born and raised Jewish and was raised in a reasonably secular Jewish fashion. Didn't find myself that religious, but looking back again, there was this draw towards the unseen world. Not sure I believed what the doctrine of the religion taught me, but there was something else. So growing up, tried to get my father's attention by participating in the business. Did so at a young age, from 12 years old, and worked there in the summers. Was very, very close to my uncle, my father's brother. Probably closer than I was to my father. He passed away of a massive heart attack at 46. And as a young man, I was told to be tough and be strong. And that was, I guess, part of the indoctrination of think more, feel less. And my father was not a very feeling person. And I decided to go back into the family business, went to university, dropped out after second year, and was going to prove to him that I could do it. And that began a 30-year journey of being very typical, very masculine, driven, got married, had 3 kids, always had gastrointestinal issues, bleeding ulcers when I was a
Mm,
teenager, Crohn's disease from my early 20s. But, and again, looking back at it, realized that it was me trying to control what was beyond my control.
mhm,
Um, I don't talk that much about that part of my life because
mm,
it was the setup for what happened in my early 50s,
mm,
which was this awakening. The
mhm,
company grown considerably. We wanted to hire human resources consultants that came in and started to do culture and training. And the human resources consultant that I was working with got me into personal development, gave me a couple of books. The first book I was reading leadership books, and so Spirit was nudging me in that direction. I was kind of a slow awakening, not anything that was too thunderous, although the health issues were a bit of a concern, and this all happened around my first gastrointestinal surgery because of the stress and because of being driven as much as I was. And so I went on vacation, read this book. It was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. And it was like, wow, that was amazing. I came back. I looked him up. There was a workshop. I went, I brought some of my members of the company, my family, and I set the intention that I wanted him to be my first coach. And in the back of one of his books, it talked about the Master Series. And so at a break, I talked to him, and he told me how much it cost to work with him for a year. And it was like, that's a little bit much. He said, I tell you what, I'll make an exception. I'll work with you for 3 months. And he did. And it was, I don't know if I'd ever pay that again, but I did. I was nudged. And that was the beginning of changing my life. He was a little bit spiritual. Um, and that then I began reading alternative health modalities. I remember one of the first practitioners I went to was a shaman. She scanned my body and said that my lower chakras were like a tar field of unexpressed emotions. And it's like, yeah, no wonder I had gastro issues. And slowly I realized that that's what I was here for. I left the business, we sold it. I even in the beginning, I studied with a rabbi. I wanted to see if I could
mm,
reconcile my new spiritual beliefs with the religious beliefs that, of the religion I was born into. But that didn't work. There just was no, there wasn't enough overlap. My spiritual beliefs were very, very different. One of the practices that I learned from Robin Sharma was early awakening. He taught me to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, to meditate, to listen to quiet music, to read, and to journal. And it was the journaling process in the beginning of emptying out the unexpressed emotions. And I continued to do so for a long time because I really enjoyed the early awakening and letting go of the emotions that have been bottled up inside of me for so long. And as what I like to say, cleaned the swamp, I started to have conversations, and I thought it was conversations with God, like Neil Donald Walsh.
mm,
And there were answers coming back that were very profound that eventually evolved. And I realized that I was talking more to a collective. I like to joke and say that God was too busy and handed me over to another entity or energy. I have come to know that energy as Shaltazar, the Gavish Baninu, the energy of 33, the master teacher, and as of a couple of years ago, also the energy of 44, the master healer. And the journal entries were so profound, I'd read them to my wife, and she'd say, "Where'd that come from? That's not you." And it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I would reread them over and over again. They would begin to help me change my life, see things
mm,
differently, understand the higher realms and the unseen world. And I said, these are too good. I got to share them. I combed my journal for 16 of the more profound entries. The universe brought me a gentleman who had a recording studio in his basement who also created sound. I recorded those 16, put them on a 2-disc CD set, and put them out to the world. Then after that, I created videos. There are now over 275 messages from Shaltazar that are shared on a number of platforms. And that energy has changed my life and helped me understand my purpose, which is to awaken, empower, and inspire others by sharing my love and wisdom. That's my story.
Wow. I always like to start with, why do you think this profound awakening happened for you?
It happened because it was part of what I would like to call the loosely crafted plan that we all incarnate with. Um, it Some people say that destiny is more solid, more firm. I believe we live on the planet of free choice, and the plan that the universe has for us is more loosely crafted. It depends on the choices we make. And so that's what I came here to do. My purpose is to awaken, empower, inspire others, sharing my love and wisdom, as I say. I needed to live the first 50 years in a life that was totally opposite. Just like I chatted with you, your personal experience, I believe, is the setup. You are here doing what you're doing because you
Mhm.
lived the personal experience, the personal history you did. I am here for the last 20 some years because my first 50 years, guess I was a slow learner, took me a while, but my setup was 50 years. And that's the nudging. And I would suggest in a lot of cases, if you don't listen, the nudgings get stronger and they get more difficult. And we have things happen in our life that nudges us to finally make the decision that the loosely crafted plan was all about. And so I have talked to many, many, many people who have had that awakening. Some have it gentle like me. Some have it, like yourself, that had a past life, that had a near death experience. There's all kinds. And there are people, probably like my late parents, who ignored the nudges and never chose to have that awakening. I am firmly convinced that we are unconditionally loved by the source, whether we get the message and awaken or not. So I think
Mhm.
that's important to understand, is that um, some of us are going to get that awakening. Some of us are not. Some of us are here to awaken others. Some are here to be awakened. And I am very, very, very grateful that I had what I call a do over, that I have had two lives in one. I do
Mm.
not resent or regret the first 50 years. It taught me a lot, although there was a lot of suffering and a lot of uncomfort and a lot of issues. But it has made me the spiritual teacher, the channeler, and the energy intuitive that I currently am.
I love that you said that, do-over and 2 lives in 1. But I wanna pivot back for a second. You started something, and I really want to ask, why are we here? What is the purpose of human life, in your opinion? Or in what you've learned even?
That's a beautiful question. There is a Sheltazar message called "The True Purpose
Mhm.
of Human Life," and a lot of people think about it in terms of their personal path. And although I said my purpose is to awaken, empower, and inspire others by sharing my love and wisdom, that might be my loosely crafted plan. But I believe the true purpose, and this is something that you will not get in religious studies. I believe that the source is unity. It is oneness. It is all knowing, all being, all loving. Very, very difficult for us to comprehend that. And I believe that the source in its infinite wisdom wanted to understand itself beyond that unity. You will notice that I refer to that source as itself. There are a lot of religions that refer to the source, God, Yahweh, the higher power, the universe, as a male, as he. And I find that hard to believe, because if it is unity, why would it be masculine? Why would it not be both masculine and feminine? So it is not out of disrespect that I refer to it as it. It is, I'm not sure. I guess I need my granddaughter to teach me the non-gender, dual gender, binary. I don't know. I mean, I'm an old guy, so but I do refer to it as it, not out of lack of respect, but because I don't believe it has one specific gender. I believe that from that unity, from that all-knowing, all-being, all-loving, it wanted to know itself beyond that. It created planet Earth, which was the duality. We are everything about the male, the female, the good, the bad, the up, the down, the dark, the light. Everything on our planet is a duality. And so it created the duality. It gave that planet free choice, and it implanted a piece of itself within each human being that incarnated. So through our journey, it could understand more fully what unity is by experiencing duality through us. It may sound convoluted, but it works for me. I believe that we are not to know what is and how it operates the higher realms. There is an ancient text called the Kabbalion, which is the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, who lived 5,000 years ago. And there are 7 principles. And the first principle is the all is mental. It refers to that higher power as the all. And in it, there is a line that has rung very, very true to me for a long time. It says, the all is unknowable and unthinkable. So I am quite content trying to find out more about the higher power, knowing full well I'll never get it right. When I was brought that message from Shaltazar that the true purpose of human life is simply for us to experience the duality with a piece of unity, a piece of source, a piece of spirit or soul within us, it took a lot of pressure off, because then you don't get it right. You don't get it wrong. The first 50 years wasn't a mistake. It wasn't, I was supposed to do something else. Even in my do-over in the last 20 some years, am I helping enough people? Don't know. Am I doing it the right way? Don't know. It just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, there is a Shaltazar message that is very much like a near-death experience. It's called It Just Doesn't Matter. And there's that feeling when you are in the beyond that the human trivialities of life just don't matter. It just doesn't really make a difference. And so here we are, fulfilling that purpose. Both of us have come from a lifetime that was very opposite to the lifetime we are living now, and we fulfilled the purpose. My parents, who lived only one aspect of the duality, fulfilled the purpose. Because we are not being judged like some religions tell us. We are being unconditionally loved. And we are just this big experiment of how does a planet with 8 billion people living in a duality, having free choice, how do we operate? And that is helping the source understand beyond the unity it comes from. That may make sense to some people. It may not to others. I highly encourage people, find spiritual beliefs that allow you to have a better life. Find your truth. Shaltazar has taught me that all truth on planet Earth is relative. Absolute truth only exists in the higher realms. So all the truth that we are searching for is very relative. Your truth is your truth. My truth is my truth. So I am here to share my experience and hopefully allow other people to find a different aspect than the duality that they have lived in that may not have been as enjoyable.
Hmm.
We talked before we started the podcast about grief. Well, how do we navigate grief, right? Like all of the things that happen in our human life are an opportunity for us to decide how we're going to show up. Are we going to show up from that duality, or as the philosophy of Hermes Trismegistus said, are we going to try to be above the swing of the pendulum? One of my first coaches taught me a phrase that has resonated with me very strongly. And it is, you could say it is a part of that purpose of human life. We're here to master the duality. We're here not to judge the good and the bad. We're here to move beyond that and to live as spirit in human form. That's my belief. Take it for what it's worth.
I like that. I like that. So I just want to, because you brought up the near-death experience part, many near-death experiencers return saying Earth is a school for the soul. I am curious what your thoughts are on near-death experiences. What do you think they are? And did you learn anything from Shaltazar describing what they were?
Yes, yes, yes. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
the phrase school for the soul, it depends on how we want to explain school. I would agree with it, but not, yeah, maybe it is. School is something to learn. And maybe that ties in with what I said. The soul is here to learn beyond unity. So in that sense, yes, it is a school. We are on schoolhouse earth, right? The soul does not understand the choices that we made, the life that we lived. The soul does not even understand, I believe, the 4 dimensions, which is time and space, right? I mean, I believe that in the higher realms, there is no time, there is no space. So in that sense, the soul incarnates to see and experience what is beyond the infinite energy of the universe. So I would agree. I think that's actually at first I was caught off guard because school is sort of like the teacher teaching us, right? But this is the soul as the student learning a different experience than the unity that it is.
Right.
Near-death experience, my understanding from Shaltazar is that we move out of form, right? Because part of the life that we're living is this 4-dimensional space. It's the body, it's the form, it's a lower vibration of solids. So the first part of that near-death experience is there is a part of us, an energy that moves beyond the form. And in that Shaltazar message, it just doesn't matter. It starts out by taking you to the edge, okay, in darkness, and then you lose your form, and you go to a place. You go to a place where what you see is sound, and the way it's described is as if 10,000 orchestras are all playing at once in total harmony. So a sound, which is, we talked before the podcast how you listen to sound healing music. I listen to sound healing music. I've got my crystal bowls. So, which, by the way, I think is our fascination as humans with sound and music and all of that, because that's where we come from. So the essence of where we go back in a near-death experience is to the sound of the divine. Then the lights come, lights of many colors, and they all meld together. It is colors that we could not imagine, again, because we're in a higher dimension and a higher vibration. And so whatever we can perceive with the human eye in terms of colors, multiply that exponentially. And then you have the sound and you have the colors, and then you have the feeling of the unconditional love of the source. And I believe that is what the near-death experience is. I believe that is what we go back to when we are finished with the incarnation of this life. As a matter of fact, Shaltazar has taught me, which is kind of interesting. And again, anything I share is just my belief. I highly encourage people, since, as it says in the Kabbalion, the all is unknowable and unthinkable, and I would add incomprehensible. This is just my beliefs. I encourage people to find the beliefs that resonate with them. I believe when we are finished in this human life, and I'm 74, so I'm getting closer. I'm in my final chapters. When I leave the form, this body of Jeffery Eisen, I believe what happens is my entire lifetime is transmuted into an energy orb, And that energy orb is not a sequential recounting of my life experiences. It is as if all of my millions of experiences in my however many years, right now it's 74, are then taken in a logical, lower dimensional way, and they are transmuted into divine wisdom. And they're put in this energy orb and they go off into the cosmos. Is that the Akashic record? I don't know. That helps me understand when a medium will connect with a departed loved one and they will tell you about, if they were connecting to my father, they would say, well, I'm smelling cigar smoke. And it's, yeah, my dad smoked cigars. That is because they are connecting to that energy orb where the physical experiences as well as the divine wisdom resides. And so that is what expands. That is what the soul brings back after it's had its school experience. It takes back all of what it learned. Okay. Like if we went to school and we took everything from elementary school to the higher learning, and we encapsulated it into an energy orb, and maybe that's what AI is, right? So that's that artificial intelligence. What we are doing is we add our emotional experiences to that as well. And that energy orb forms universal intelligence. Everything that ever was, everything that is, and everything that will ever be. And so, if someone wishes to connect to the life of Jeffery Eisen when I am departed the physical form, they have the ability to do so. Just as you do for your departed loved ones, they are there. Now, how do you do it? Well, if you don't want to have a near death experience where you can connect to all of those energy orbs, the less traumatic way would be to align yourself with the vibration of the person so that you can tap in to their energy orb. Hence, you hear a lot of people talk about past life regression, right? And someone will tap into your past lives. Well, they're just tapping in to those energy orbs of lifetimes that your soul has experienced. Now, don't know if that makes sense to you or to the listeners, but that's just what comes to me. And again, I encourage everybody to find the things that make sense to you.
It does. And one thing I just wanted to go back for with that near death experience. So we get the sound, we get the light. Now, what if we encounter beings? So maybe someone encounters Jesus, maybe someone encounters um, grandma from 3 decades ago or 3 centuries ago, however, greats. Now, if I have a near death experience and I encounter beings, what does that mean? And another thing, why do some have near death experiences and others don't? Do you have an answer for that?
Um, why do we encounter who we encounter in our near death experience? I would suggest that's the loosely crafted plan. Right? So
Mm.
if you think of the soul incarnating, it sort of says for me or for you, here's a path that you may want to try. Right? And if you're totally obstinate and you don't believe, the chance of you following any part of that loosely crafted plan is slim to none. But maybe part of that plan is, well, I kind of really want to experience a higher vibrational, higher frequency life. And it's like, well, are you sure? And it's like, yeah, I'm ready for this. So we incarnate in this guy who gets born into a non-spiritual family, doesn't understand gifts, not sure that there is a God, very masculine, pushy. And Spirit says, well, you know, he really wanted a very spiritual life. So let's give him a bleeding ulcer. Let's give him. Now, I obviously had choices each time. I could have opened up to who I was. So I think who we connect to is not that's a very logical question, and I don't think Spirit would ask that question, right? Okay. I mean,
Mhm.
it's sort of like, well, why did I get it? Why did you get a near death experience and I didn't? And yet I've opened up to spirituality. Well, maybe there was something in this algorithm. Again, we always have to go back to the higher dimensions are beyond our ability to know. And I remember coaching a young man once, and he looked at me very seriously and said, Jeffrey, I find it so fascinating that you are so passionate about trying to find out something you know you never will. And it's like, yes, I'm okay with that. I love the search. I love the journey. I'm a 32-5. I mean, I'm an explorer. So I'm not going to look for the definitive. So
Huh.
who we meet, who we don't meet, who we're aware of, right? I mean, in your near death experience, is it possible you connected to other energy orbs, other
Mhm.
souls that you don't remember when you come back? Maybe you just remember the ones that are going to help you on your journey.
Hmm. Okay.
Right. And then the other question was what? Some people have near death experiences, some don't?
Yeah. So a lot of people would say that some near death experiences are activations. It seems to be once someone has that, even not even just near death experiences, but also like profound spiritual awakenings, meditation.
I truly believe that part of the soul is creating setups for us
Mhm.
to master the duality and find a deeper connection to spirit, to the unseen while in human life.
Mhm.
Some people maybe say, okay, let's make that subtle in this lifetime. Some people say, let's make it really, really intense. And if they're not paying attention, we'll do the near death experience thing. Right. And so I believe it's random and it's not a punishment and it's not a
Mhm.
prize. It is
Mhm.
just one of the number of ways, I mean, like I say, I've coached people that will have these instantaneous awakenings. Mine was a bit slower. It's really important not to judge how you get your awakening. What is really important is that you give yourself an opportunity for that awakening, because I think both you and I would agree an awakened life is much, much more fulfilling, enjoyable, expansive. Doesn't mean we get a pass.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we're going to have an easy road. No, no, no. Awakening is not about winning the prize and coasting to whatever you want. It just means you have increased your consciousness, your worldview, as the late David Hawkins used to talk about worldview of higher vibration. You get an opportunity. I'm constantly looking at my worldview at 74 compared to what it was in my 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. And I see life so much different. And it's like, what an honor to be able to see life the way I am seeing it. It just makes so much more sense, because what I was seeing before was this tiny, tiny little perspective of
Mhm.
all my beliefs were based on a crumb of what consciousness is all about. Unfortunately, the downside for me, as I mentioned, I'm a 32.5 and we're explorers, is I get bored like crazy with human life. It's just like, come on, Shaltazar, take me out of here. Let me surf the cosmos with you, because we were talking before, we were at a social event and it's so boring. It's like, come on, bring me the secrets of the universe. And some people get to experience that in their near death experience. Some people come back and vividly remember it. Some people
Mhm.
come back and tend to forget about it and go about their life as if it never happened. And that's
Mhm.
okay. And I believe we can have a glimpse of that higher vibrational, uh, um, higher dimension without the near death experience, by doing the things that I'm sure you talk about on the podcast: meditation, sound healing, alternative healing. Like there are so many, and find your tribe and find people that will help you open up to the greater possibility than the narrowness of the human consciousness.
Mm. On that note, Jeffrey, you know, is consciousness, in your opinion, something our brains create, or is it something far greater that simply expresses itself through us?
You got it. Second. I'll choose number
Yeah.
two. Door number two. It is the human brain, I am led to believe, is um, very, very narrow. Our ability to use, and there are scientists that tell you that we have not used the capacity of our brain.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
you open up to this higher consciousness, if you open up and connect to that which is trying to express itself through our human form, you can um, expand the capacity of the brain. One thing that I will say, I did open by saying that first shaman told me that I was a tar field of unexpressed emotions. I am a big fan. I am the poster boy for feeling. And I know, what we're going through in the world now is very difficult. There are a lot of lower and slower unpleasant, uncomfortable feelings occurring around us. But the true expansion is not just in the thinking mind, because it is limited. If you want to expand the capacity of the mind, you must open your heart and feel more.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, having said that, open your heart and feel more. Now, we're a human, right? We're
We
playing
are.
human right now.
We are playing
So
human.
we all know that fear plays a huge part of our lives. Now, do you think this is something we're meant to overcome? Or do you think that it's something that might be part of the curriculum of being human?
I, I, it is definitely the second, but I don't think it's overcome. I think it's understand. It's understand. And what Shaltazar has taught me is that feelings are truth. And I remember, in the beginning, doing a lot of learning and studying. And one of the teachers that I followed was the late Wayne Dyer, and I went to yeah, I saw him in person a number of times.
Wayne Dyer, he was my absolute favorite. I just loved him so much.
And unfortunately, he passed away at a
Mhm.
relatively young age. And he taught so many people. He was brilliant, and he brought much wisdom. And I read all of his books and went to his Hay House events and all of that. He taught us that feelings are not good and bad. They are higher and faster, pleasant, or lower and slower, unpleasant, uncomfortable. If you follow that teaching, you start to realize that fear is not bad. Fear is just a lower and slower vibrational feeling. Now, what Shaltazar says is acknowledge the feeling, accept it as if it is your best friend, and allow it to speak its truth. So, and I work with clients a lot on this. What is that fear telling you? What is that fear telling you? You have to look at the circumstance. Is that fear an opportunity to increase your trust, to increase your faith? Is that fear part of the mental limitations that you have been taught? Is that fear bringing up a past experience? Is fear that opportunity to open yourself wider than you have before?
Mhm.
I am not afraid of dying. I am ready to go. And I see so many people who are. Now, yes, I'm privileged. I'm lucky. I'm 74. I had a do-over. That first part of my life that was kind of miserable also allowed me to make some money and and have the crystals and have the great lifestyle I have. But death is like I'm okay with it. But a lot of people are very afraid of death. They're afraid
Mhm.
of. They're afraid of. So when I work with people, I help them understand what that feeling is trying to tell them. And it is challenging because my understanding from Shaltazar is we are in the energy of the great potential for change where no change is not an option.
Ah.
The heightened fear, the all of the experiences that we are having is stirring us to have an awakening, including those of
Mhm.
us who have already awakened. So, what a better way to kick us in the ass than to bring up war and fear and manipulation and control. All of those things are here serving this higher purpose. And so, again, I have worked with so many people to help them understand those lower and slower emotions. I'll go back to what I said before. What was the beginning of my journey? Writing those feelings down in a journal, allowing them to come out of the body. Because when they're in the body, they will spin around in your head, and your head will make them 10 times worse than they are. Being older, I have this fear of forgetting, right? So it comes with aging, but I want to be in control. Okay.
Mm.
So I play this little game. When the fear of forgetting comes up, I say, okay, what if you forgot this? And then you kind of go through it and say, it's not such a big deal if I forgot this or I forgot that, you know? I went traveling and forgot my toothpaste. Why am I in such a dither? Why am I, whipping myself up into this frenzy? I'll go out and buy toothpaste. But you're in Europe. They may not have your toothpaste. So who cares? Like you talk yourself off the edge, right? But that's not the way it works. What I have found is we have been so programmed to not feel that when the uncomfortable feelings come up, we automatically move to our mind. I have a saying, and it goes like this: when your heart is broken, you make an unconscious deal with your head, with your mind, to protect your broken heart. And so watch when those lower and slower feelings come up. You will notice you go right to your head, you go right to your mind, and you'll start making up stories. And quite often, your mind will just whip you into a frenzy. What Shaltazar would say is put your hand on your heart, quiet your mind, and feel more fully the words of the late Wayne Dyer. He's here with us. Those lower and slower vibrational feelings, and allow them to move through you.
Jeffrey, have you heard this? There are two emotions, love and fear. What do you think of that?
I would somewhat disagree from a place of love. From a place of love. If we go back to what I believe the purpose of human life is, the duality, I believe all emotions have the opposite effect. So there is love and fear. There is responsibility and less responsibility. Like there are, like, if what I believe is true, the place of unity does not have those opposites. Does God have fear? I don't believe so. If God is unconditional love, then there's no opposite of that unconditional love.
But you're human here having this experience.
Got it. So therefore, are there more than two opposite feelings, love and fear? I believe yes. I believe there are a gazillion opposite feelings. We are here, my translation of what Shaltazar has said, to experience the full spectrum of emotions. Love and fear is the part of the spectrum that we probably hear the most about, right? Okay, it's the big one. It's the big one, right? We want love, which, by the way, there's a few messages from Shaltazar on love that is not as understood as it could be. We use the word, but what does the feeling mean? Shaltazar got my attention once by saying, to love is not necessarily to like. Ooh, all right, that got me going, right? Okay, so if I don't like my wife's behavior, can I still love her? Yes. Right? Right? So I think those are the two big ones that humans have the greatest difficulty with, love and fear. Okay. Love and hate. I mean, there's a bunch of different opposites. We're kind of seeing the love and hate one out in the world a lot these days, aren't we? Too much love and hate, but there's love and fear. So even by that, every feeling doesn't have just one opposite. It has a spectrum of opposites. Shelter has also taught me that the feeling, the emotion, is much more than the label we give it. Okay. How I like to describe it is it's like soup. You can make vegetable soup. I can make vegetable soup. We both call them vegetable soup. Mine is sweet. I like earth vegetables. I like, squash and you may like spicy. I don't like spicy. So we both have this vegetable soup. Oh, I'll bring the vegetable soup. You say, I'll bring the vegetable soup. And the guests say, oh, okay, we're having vegetable soup. And we both show up with a vegetable soup and they taste it and say, what are you talking about? Oh, no, mine's vegetable soup. And you say, mine's vegetable soup, but they taste very different. So is it fear? What other ingredients are? For example, I'll give you an example. I find sadness a very calming, peaceful emotion. My wife hates sadness. The minute she feels sad and tears come to her eyes, she resists it, she pulls back. Some people would say, I need a little bit of fear to make sure that I don't take too many risks. Shaltazar says all attributes, characteristics, behaviors, emotions have a positive and a negative side to them. So a little bit of fear, prevents you from taking risks that might be harmful to you. A lot of fear creates stress that can give you a heart attack.
Right?
Right. So each of those, love is a continuum, fear is a continuum, sadness is a continuum. They're all continuums. And so, and I believe that is why we resist those emotions, because we don't understand them. And I love to teach people to understand more deeply about their emotions so they can understand them. And so when that fear comes up, we want to look at the soup, the fear soup, and we want to say, what's in it? And then all of a sudden they'll tell you that something happened to them in their personal history that makes them very, very concerned about certain things. And I say, well, let's go back and heal that personal experience. Let's go back and get the wisdom out of it. And then they find, gee, when that comes up again, I don't have as strong a fear as I used to have. So I think that those lower and slower emotions are here to help us learn to evolve, for the soul to experience that schoolhouse earth that it is here participating with us in.
You have such an interesting perspective. It's actually quite refreshing. I'm going to jump ahead. Many of our audience members come from different faiths, and sorry about that. I forgot to turn my phone off. My apologies.
Don't worry about it. It could
Many
be the
of our
universe
audience
calling.
members.
Hang on. Could be the universe calling.
Right? Yeah, it was
Hello,
my realtor.
universe. I think they have something they want to add.
Yeah. Many of our audience come from different faiths and they have experiences involving Jesus or God. But I'm curious what you've learned from Shaltazar about who Jesus is. Was he a unique master teacher, an enlightened consciousness, or something else entirely?
Yeah, one of the things that I have learned is, once again, often we tend to look at and try to understand the higher realms, the universe, from our limited human experience. And that's why when I connected, as I told you at the beginning, when I was starting to connect to a higher power, at first I thought it was God. Then there was a name Calcitron, and I thought that was their name, but it turns out it's a place. And then I heard Gavish Bani Nu, and it's like, oh, is that who they are? And it's like, no, that's what they do. I believe that to be Gavish Bani Nu is transmitter of divine wisdom. Then I heard the name Shaltazar. I think it doesn't matter what you call it. It's sort of, let's go back to the vegetable soup. It doesn't matter what we call. Is it fear? Is it love? It's what does Jesus mean to you? It is the energy of what you believe. one of the dilemmas we have in human form is we want to put spirituality into a box. We want to put it into linear, logical ways. We have to give it a name. Right? And so many people that are connecting to Jesus and feel that connection like you do, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's how it makes you feel. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, I was born of the Jewish faith. So my human perspective of Jesus is very different than your human perspective of Jesus.
Mhm.
But when I hear you talk about connecting or other people connecting to Jesus, I know they are talking about the divine energy that is represented by that name. And so I think that is the most important thing. One of the biggest challenges we have is we are living in this four-dimensional world, and our mind wants to put what is incomprehensible, what is unknowable and unthinkable into logic. We have to give it a try. We're here on this podcast. We're talking about things.
Yeah.
We have to give it a try. But it doesn't matter what you call the energy that you are connecting to. It's how it makes you feel that is most important. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you very much. So many people are very anxious with the increasing chaotic chaoticness out there in the world, so from Shaltazar's perspective, how should we be looking at what's happening in the world today?
It is my understanding that chaoticness is perpetrating the change that's required. Therefore, they are encouraging us to find our tribe, to find our beliefs, to find our peace, to find our contentment, to meditate, to find people that we can help us get through this. We are in a war, and war changes the way the world works. So don't listen to the news.
Yeah.
Don't expose yourself to things that will increase your fear. Stay away from the chaos. We talked about it before we got on the podcast, how you meditate, you listen to music, you spend time in nature. We want to calm our nervous system. We want to, we do not have to participate, pardon my language, in the shit show that's going on around us. We do not. We can go within, we can find the still point, we can find the calm, and through that, you will be able to shift your perspective. You commented that I have a good perspective on things. Well, I worked on that. I worked on it. If you would have known me in life number one, in the first 50 years, I did not have a very good perspective. I was judgmental. I was fearful. I was all of those things. I worked through meditation, through channeling Shaltazar. I worked on shifting my perspective. And so when something happens to me, my computer got hacked and someone got into my PayPal and my bank account. And yes, it did raise the stress level, but I chose a different perspective. I chose a different, and that's what the chaos is giving us an opportunity to do. Can you find peace in the storm? That's what Shaltazar would say. And if you are having difficulty with it, then practice and figure out a way to find the peace. And the more of us that find the peace, the more it will affect the collective energy, the collective consciousness, and the sooner the chaos will dissipate.
Beautifully said. I absolutely love that. Jeffrey, if every person on earth suddenly understood one truth about consciousness,
Chaos.
Mhm.
The chaos would be gone. If we stop being afraid of fear and embraced love, it would change the chaos. It would change how we interact with people. Okay. And again, thank you for the question, but it's a bit hypothetical and it's a bit logical, because how do I measure, right, that leap in consciousness of the 8 billion people, right? Okay. But I got to tell you, it would move us towards greater peace, greater harmony, less judgment, more understanding, more acceptance. Shaltazar has taught me that acceptance is the lower end of the continuum of love. If we could accept each other's differences, there would be a tremendous change. If we could realize that the inequality we have between the rich and the poor is causing much of the chaos, causing much of the hardship, causing much of the wars, we could overcome that. So my answer, I have no idea what that would do, but I know it would be in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. I know it would be a better world. Okay. Exactly, I'm not sure, because there's 8 billion people and they're all moving to a higher level of consciousness. I think it would be a tremendous, tremendous shift in this experiment called human life. And we have a long way to go, and we've gone backwards because we hate more than we love. And that's got to change. That's got to change. We have to. And what I have learned, by the way, is you cannot give to others what you do not have yourself. So by gosh, start loving yourself more fully so that you can give that love to others. It is now in the sunset of my life that I have worked so diligently on my self-worth and self-confidence and self-love that I can share that love more freely.
Beautifully said. Thank you. You know, Jeffrey, you're coming to the time where I wish that we could keep going on and on and on, because I know I could. I am wondering, and I'm sure the audience is too, if someone wants to learn more about you, where can they find and connect with you?
The easiest place is my website, jeffreyeisen.com, my name.com. And I will just put a caveat in there. You talk about that self-worth and self-confidence. When I began my coaching practice, I hid behind the brand Awakening the Self, the journey of self-discovery. I was awakeningtheself.com. And I just made the decision to let that URL go. And it was a few years ago, number of years ago, that I was ready to stand in my power, and my brand is me. It's my name, right? I will not hide from it. So you can find me at jeffreyeisen.com. On jeffreyeisen.com, you are more than welcome to book a free complimentary 45-minute clarity call. I love talking to people. That is how I learn. I love helping people. You can book a clarity call. You can learn more about my coaching services. All of the Shaltazar messages, over 275, are there. I've started a new series called Living the Wisdom, where I take the Shaltazar messages and I create articles and blog posts from my personal experience. And I will be starting something called Activate the Wisdom, because I think spiritual wisdom without taking action, we're not going to change. It just remains something pretty lofty. It's the same as that near-death experience. If you come back after the near-death experience and you do the same thing you did before, then you kind of wasted that opportunity of seeing the beyond while you're still in human form. So I have that going. You can find me on YouTube at Shaltazar. You can find me on the meditation app Insight Timer. Check out my profile, jeffreyeisen.com. I do weekly lives where we gather together. And social media, Facebook, Instagram, all those places, because I am here to share the wisdom of Shaltazar and share what I have learned in my do-over with as many people as possible. But the best place to start is jeffreyeisen.com.
And we will have all that information in the description box below. Now, Jeffrey, everyone who returns to themselves or awakens often returns with a truth. What truth do you believe humanity needs to hear right now?
We are one,
Mm.
and the answer is love. John Lennon, all we need is love, right? That's if you realize that the separation that we have is an illusion, and wherever we are, you are thousands of miles away from me. You are a woman. I am a man. Okay. We were born and had different experiences, but we are one. We came from that unity. We're wearing the costume and the mask that we decided to incarnate with. But if we can connect with the oneness, and we did today, we shared beliefs. Your podcast is amazing because it's giving people an opportunity to find what they resonate. And
Mhm.
when we do that, when we realize we are one, then loving each other becomes so much easier. We don't focus on the differences, we focus on the similarities, and we can appreciate that love that we came from more. Because that's where we're going back to. So we
Right.
might as well do it here, and that will shift the world. So that's my truth. And I've tried
Uh,
to live it as often as I can. There's no perfection in this, there's no destination. No matter what the master was, Jesus, Krishna, uh, um, uh, Buddha, it doesn't matter. They are humans. They are on a journey the
Right.
same as
Mhm.
us.
It does not matter how they get there,
You got it.
right? No. Jeffrey, I want to thank you so very much, not for just sharing your story, but for the courage it took to leave your life behind that many, many would never, in order to follow that one calling to your soul. So thank you for bringing your light. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. You know, it's Monday, for bringing your light and your truth and your wisdom to the return today. And I do hope that you will come back.
I would love to. Thank you so much for
Mhm.
having me. Love and light
You're
to
welcome.
everyone.
That's right. And to the audience, if this conversation reminded you of anything, let it be this. Sometimes the greatest awakenings doesn't begin with having all the answers, all the questions, having anything actually at all. A lot of the times it begins with having the courage to question the life you've always known, because every one of us is returning to ourselves, returning to truth, and ultimately returning to source. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.